going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going on track. Now we going way up. Going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70.
Good evening, good people. Another Boss Conversations with Janeah. I have a special guest today. So happy to have this brother on with me. I started off with him back in, I want to say 2016, 2017. We did a little work together, and it's good that we could circle around and come back to each other again. So, without further ado, I do want to welcome another one of my Chicago natives, Mr. Donald
What's going
Washington
on?
of Yay! My life in the shine. What's going on?
What's going on?
Woo-hoo.
Absolutely pleasure being on your platform. I love your platform, Boss Conversations. You bring a lot of bosses on your platform, and I appreciate this interview today.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And welcome to the show. I am happy to have you on because you're doing some important work in Chicago, and I would love to highlight that. So, before we get into the interview, if you could please tell everybody what your platform is, what do you do, all that good stuff.
Okay, my platform is Chicago News Journalist. What I do is highlight stuff that go on, but I like to do everything. I like to do positive and I show some of the negative things. One of the things I do is go out to different restaurants and just so people can see different places to go, different places to see. I started off filming activists back in 2016 that's out there doing positive things in the community. So I used to go out there filming, things that go on in Chicago and mostly positive stuff, just activists out there doing their things. And that's that's where it started from, is really going out filming. Later on, did I feel the need to really sit down and do a personal show to where I highlight things that are going on in Chicago, because a lot of times the local news didn't cover some of the things that was going on. So I wanted to just highlight what's going on and just be an informational tool for the community.
All right. Yes. And that's how we met, ladies and gentlemen, back in 2016. I was a part of one of the organizations that he used to come and record, New Era Chicago. And it was a really great experience. We did a lot of leg work in the community. Actually, this video right here that the brother is showing was one of the school giveaways, book bag giveaways. We gave away book bags, school supplies, food. It was such a nice thing. We had a lot of kids there, a lot of families. And so that was me actually getting interviewed by Brother Donald back then. So yeah, we've been on this path for a long time. Right after I did this interview with him, I sat on his show a couple of times and I was a guest on his show. So I've been rocking with this brother for a while and I've been watching you grow. I love it. You cover so much. He covers a lot of the parts of Chicago that everybody is scared to come to Chicago for. He's definitely covering the our babies that are getting their lives taken and things like that. Car accidents, shootouts, police chases.
Yeah.
As he said, he does cover good things as well, but he keeps us in the know on what's going on in our neighborhoods, like what's really going on. And I even see a lot of times in your videos, like it's right on the scene. On the scene, like you said, something that you don't even see on the local news,
Right.
but you're right on these scenes. Like, how has this progressed since you started with just us on the streets?
You know what? When I was filming you guys on the streets, I would come across crime scenes, and I was actually filming the Chicago Way documentary. And so what had happened is, I would actually go out to some of the scenes of the crime, prayer visuals, stuff like that. And it was heart-wrenching, to be on a scene of a crime, of a homicide, and the family gets there. In the Chicago Way documentary, I'll highlight I was at, where sister just got killed, and The family was there, and I even interviewed several families, and they just look blank, and it's heart wrenching. It's hard to it's messed up to say. I'm almost used to it because I covered so much of it. And one of the things I liked about when I first started filming in New Era Chicago was that the motto was, hey, we need to do it ourselves. One of the reasons I started the platform is because I kept hearing people say the governor got to come save us. The mayor should come save us. They need to come help us, and they need to save us. And I was like, no. That message is we got to do it ourselves if we want to take care of it. Nobody else in their community wait for the police, the governor, the mayor. And we honestly think we can vote our way out this. And that's why I had to sit down and really give it in the raw, like, hey, nobody's coming to save us unless we do it. Nobody. So that day of thinking that somebody is going to come save us is gone. And I had to get that right message out. We got to be the ones, the saviors of ourselves. So if we want it done, then we got to do it.
All right. I heard that. And so we're going to all these different crime scenes and things of that nature, and visuals, because there's so many visuals out here. So many out here. Drive past them daily.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to the point that you're like used to it now? Like, are there still certain scenes that you go to, that you go home and it really takes some decompressing? Or do you not have that anymore? Did you have that in the beginning? How does all of this affect you, like emotionally?
You know what? Covering stories, even now today, at first it did. Like seeing certain stories really hit home and really think about it, but now I'm really used to it. Honestly. I mean, I'm absolutely used to it now. The other day I was on the highway and I saw a car on fire, and it was somebody may have been in there, and I was just numb to it. It's hard and sad to say, but that's where I'm at. I'm really numb to it now. But what really hit home was interviewing that mother and seeing the look in her eyes. She was just a shell. She wasn't there. She was there physically, but mentally, you could tell she was, and that really hit home. The parents, the family members. And one visual I did, and you could see the brother and the sister, and the brother's eyes. He'd be crying all day, and he was holding her baby, and he was just blank. So that was very hard to see. So right now, I'm just really at a point to where I'm numb to it.
Wow. That's pretty heavy.
Right.
So with this being such, are you exclusive to Chicago with the media that you cover, or the footage, or the news that you cover? Do you cover any areas? And is it just the city of Chicago, or is it the outskirts? What all do you cover?
Of course, I cover the entire state of Illinois. WGN, everybody covered the entire state, and even Indiana as well. But, I also cover certain stories outside of Chicago. I feel that, our communities everywhere need help, and we're in a state of emergency everywhere. So anywhere where it's our communities and across the world, is our issue. One of the things I feel is we need to start talking solutions. And one of the reasons I had to sit down and actually give my opinion, because I felt the wrong message was going out. Nobody wanted to talk solutions. So I wanted to come on here and talk solutions to the problems that we have in our community. We can point fingers till we blue in the face, but what are we going to do about it? When are we going to change? And so that's what I wanted to come, and the message I wanted to bring out on my platform. Yeah, so I try to cover everything as much as I can. If it affects us, and it needs to be out there, then I cover it.
Okay. Okay. All right. You cover some of everything. I got
Right.
that. I got that. So when it comes to like what is off limits for you as far as stories that you cover? Is there anything that's off limits or is it all things shy?
You know what? Nothing's off limits unless it's something. There was a few stories where I was like, oh yeah, nah, I ain't going near that. I ain't touching it. But for the most part, I want to do more positive stories. What a lot of people are getting from me now is a lot of negativity, and I did kind of stir. So I started off positive. It was from the activists doing good in the community, and then I went towards the negativity. And it's really easy to do because the negativity is what get all the attention. When I was covering positive stories, I was getting some attention, but not like the negative. And people really streamed towards the negativity. And I kind of got caught up in it. So right now I'm in a transitional phase. I want to go towards more positive stories. And even now they don't get much attention. They just don't. So I want to
Right.
transform the platform to more positivity. So I'm trying to encourage people to send me positive stories and to share positive. So now one of the things I'm gonna do on my sit down show is to actually have a positive section on there. And each story I do shares something positive somebody's doing in the community.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you said you started your platform um with the hopes of bringing solutions to the problems that we have in Chicago.
Right.
What I know you said you wanted to talk about the solutions. Give me a couple of solutions. Because you've been doing this now for a good what, 4 or 5 years? 5 years? Like
Actually, in April it'll be 6 years
six.
exactly. Oh, wait a minute.
Wow.
7? I started in April 2016. So it's
Oh yeah.
2023 already. Ooh.
2023, right?
Right.
Wow. So with that being said, you started this. That's a long time. So with that being said, can you give me a couple things that you feel like are solutions to some of our problems?
No question. I feel, I'm also an IT specialist. I'm actually a professional troubleshooter. I feel that our community should trace back as an IT specialist. The first thing I get to your computers, how long has this been going on? And in our community, it goes back to 1965. Okay, what was introduced in that year that made statistically us going straight up, and then now all of a sudden we are going straight down statistically. If you look job wise, business wise, everything wise, marriage wise, everything, we were top of the charts. Now we're the bottom of the charts. Every stat, every negative stat, we top the charts. And literally, the graph goes up, and in 1965 goes down. So if I'm a specialist, I want to know what was introduced in that year. I would start with the second biggest thing. Solutions in our community should be group economics. One of the things we spend 98% of our money outside of our community. Once upon a time, we spent 98% of our money inside of our community. Granted, we was forced to, but now we spend $1.3 trillion a year. But now we're spending 98% of that money outside of our community. Even if we took that halfway down, all the violence and crime would stop dramatically. That's one of the biggest solutions is group economics. It's where we need to start.
Definitely.
But the number one is definitely comes back to the home, to the family structure. We've gotten away from it. I feel that the public system, like far as with, it takes a community. So now what we're getting is, we're moving away from our community. Once upon a time, my father and my best friend father and my father grew up together. So if I was out there acting a fool on the streets, his father would pull up on me and jump out on me. Like, hold on, what you think you're doing? So it takes a community. I can't do that anymore because everybody's moved away. So
Yeah.
I got one of my homeboys' kids is out there, and if I see them acting a fool, I'm pulling up on them. Like, hold up, what you think you're doing? So it takes a community. So our family structure, our home structure is just been literally dismantled. And so I think that is like the number one issue in our community.
Yeah. We did talk about both of these on your show before, and group economics is so important because it used to be where when we had self-sufficient Black communities, that we had doctors, lawyers, cobblers, seamstress, our own little grocery stores. We had everything within our community, and doctors weren't trying to move to go live in other communities because we all lived amongst each other. We don't have that anymore. Now it's been for the past 15 or so to 20 years, the theme has been to make it out the hood instead of making the hood better. And so I do think that group of economics that's a part of that whole, regime, because they abandon the houses. People, our ancestors who worked so hard to get these buildings and homes. We had the crack epidemic that came up. And so most of their kids were not mentally, sustained to be able to understand the importance of keeping those homes and buildings. And so that became, now there is no property and things of that nature to pass down. And it just wrecked us. We're wrecked. All of the stores in our community, we're just now getting to a point where we're changing that. And I do think that we have to acknowledge that. That is, even if you ride down 47th between the Dan Ryan and Lake Michigan, Lakeshore Drive, the scene today versus 10 years ago, totally different scene. The Rosenwald building. How long was the Rosenwald building abandoned and nothing but drug dealers and heads all up in and out of there, abandoned for so long? And people don't even realize that was a luxury building for our community.
Right.
That people that used to stay there, that was a luxury building, that whole neighborhood. Now we're getting it back though.
You
We see all these Black-owned businesses in Bronzeville. It's a lot of them now. But you're right, group economics, the family structure, that is one. What do you think about? This is something I want to ask you about. As far as what you cover, a lot of what's going on here. A lot of our youth, our teens, are getting shot, getting killed. How do you feel about the climate of our high schools in Chicago, with the police in there and all of the aggression towards our kids? Do you think that is fueling the problem, or it's needed because of the problem?
You know what? I want the kids to be safe, and I do understand why the police is there. As a man, I feel it needs to be more men teachers. Male administrators, male teachers, put some of these youngsters in their place. All right, my thing is this: the start in the school is start with, just like in jail. When you go to jail, there's gang counselors, but you cannot be a gang counselor unless you're an ex-gang member. You can't bring somebody outside the community to teach your children. I think that the school system, you need to be from that community in order to be teaching these kids. So now, you send your kids to school, and 99% of the teachers are from outside the community. Then 99% of these teachers are women. They can't relate to these young boys. They don't know what they're doing. So only a strong man is going to be able to discipline that young brother and tell him, hey, man, I see what you're doing. I see what you own. That ain't the way. Kids will listen, but it depends on who it comes from. That's why I'm such a firm believer of a father being in that household, a good father being in that household, to tell that young man. My father told me, I'll never forget my father telling me that rappers are just entertainers. They're not really out there shooting and killing people. And I was like, whoa, really? I can't believe all that's stupid. But my father had to sit me down several times. Like, hold up, homeboy, what you think you doing out here on these streets? You finna sit down. You're gonna go to school, go to work, and that was that, And and if that school called me, that's your yeah, no, no. And so that's all the teachers had to do for me is I'm gonna call your parents. Now they like call my parents. I don't care, or lack thereof, call my parent because I don't care. And the teachers, we as society has gotten past being proactive. We are blaming the teachers. We're blaming the security, stuff like that. Now they shouldn't be punching them and slamming them. But I've yet. Some of these schools I saw. I used to see kids fighting the teachers and whatnot. But yeah, we got to get back to being proactive. And not
also our government needs to pay these teachers more. They need to pay the whole school system more because they really deserve it. It's so many parents who don't raise their kids, and you don't even know until you go into the school system. Because when I went into the school system, I was like,
what is it?
And then people would get on me for things that I say, like, it's hard for single parents and this and that. Man, I know it's hard for a single parent. Hell, I'm a single parent, been a single parent for a long time. But I have actively seen parents that don't give up. Yeah. Like, kids come to school with the same clothes on all week. Kids that ain't eating. Kids, like, all kind of stuff going on. Like, a kid that came to school and they had a school supply all year. Not a school supply. You can't blame a kid for that. That's not the kid. That's the parents.
But it's the parents. But we need to go proactive. Like I told you, I'm an IT specialist. I got to go back to the.
And wait, let me be clear. I am not talking about parents who cannot afford to get school supplies for their kids.
Right.
Because I'm thinking in my head alone about a kid whose mama stay Gucci down, stay with the nails done, stay with the hair done. And so, yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. Like people, we have to prioritize our kids just like we prioritize everything else. And they can't expect teachers to raise their kids, administrative staff to raise your kids. And especially when they pushing 33, 35 kids on one teacher. Like, these dynamics are really astronomical in these schools. And I take my hats off to the teachers. I really do, because what they're dealing with is just bananas. It's bananas.
But you know what I feel? As when I was filming the Chicago Way documentary, what I did was trace back the problems, the root cause of the problems. How do we get here? And by doing that, if I got a computer here that's off the map, and then I got a computer here that's fine, I want to know, and it's the same hardware. So what I did in the documentary was I asked Nigerians, excuse me, how come you guys don't have this particular problem? What do you think from the outside looking into the African American problem in this community? One of the things they were saying is the welfare system. I think it should be adjusted, because now what do you get? I asked women, what do y'all do back in the 40s, 30s without child support and welfare? One of the main things they told me, they was like, Brother Donald, I'm going to keep it raw, uncut. And I challenge everybody watching this to ask somebody from another country, excuse me, what do y'all think the problem is? What do y'all think it needs to start? What do you think? A lot of times what we're doing is paying for bad behavior. And they would tell you that. They would laugh at you first because the dumbest thing they ever heard. And the fact that we can't figure it out is bananas to them. And they'll say, Donna, why are y'all paying for bad behavior? She said, in my country, if somebody laid down and just had a kid, they were shunned, and they were like, their families are literally disowning them, and to make sure they don't ever do it again. So now what we're getting is just people, 99% of inmates have girlfriends and kids. 80% of the school system men are single. What are we getting is bad behavior. So now we're getting just babies being made, and it's instantly we're paying. Oh, okay, you don't have no father. Okay, cool. You get a crib, car, career, everything. You get everything. crib, food, everything. You won't miss a meal. And guess what happens? You do it again. Human nature would tell you, you're going to do it again. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to do it again. So now we got a broken home. You can't afford school supplies. You don't have nobody to tell him that these gangbangers ain't where it's at. You don't have a family structure. So now that kid, 99% of the time, is going to become a statistic. We're doomed from day one. 90% chance that child fails. So now, if you go back to 65, before 65, there was two-parent households, 91%. And those children all strived. Now we got 90% single-parent households. Those kids, 90% chance they will fail. If I go back, I would take that system.
90% single household?
No, 73 to, I think, 91.
I was about to say, that's a pretty large number. Now, I know a lot of dual-parent households.
It's 73. It's 73 to, but some areas, certain areas vary. Certain areas vary, but statistically overall it's 73%. But that's still way. So now what we're getting is just bad behavior right now, and we're paying for it. I talked to a sister the other day, and I ain't jumping on my women, men too. Men are out there making babies and running, and it's bogus. And yes, I do sound biased, like, male perspective, but that's where we need to stop that. We need to make it, because if you know, and you probably got family members who are, ask somebody 85. My parents didn't believe in welfare. So my father had to come with a ring. It wasn't no laying down. And you can ask, she was like, I asked my parents, and like, what, and it was like, hey, I couldn't lay down with anybody. It was like, what no welfare? You laid down and it wasn't no benefits. You were stuck. You were screwed. And if you did it once, you didn't do it twice and 3 or 4, 5 times like we get now. So and then I asked the lady in my documentary, what did y'all do? She was like, Dom, I had to make sure he was going to bring a ring because there wasn't nothing. I was screwed. My parents couldn't afford me, or my grandmother didn't play that. No. You walk in this house with your belly out. You walk out half naked. You better be before the house lights the street lights come on, because you ain't coming in here with no belly sticking out, and we can't afford you. They didn't agree with welfare. So it wasn't none of that coming in the house. Oh, no, you ain't getting pregnant out here. Who is this Kevin Washington cat knocking on my door? Hey, homeboy, you better bring a ring, or you ain't seeing none of that. And he had to. And it's been, they stayed married 50 years till he passed. But I think we need to go back to that, shunning bad behavior versus rewarding it. I feel it was done purposely, brilliantly, because here's the result. Here's the result of it.
I do agree with you to a certain extent. I don't totally agree with you.
Right.
But I do agree that, well, one thing I agree with is like Section 8. Okay, Section 8 alone. The fact that you have to be a single woman. You can't have a man in your house. Every year they come and they check. And if they see any remnants of a man living with you, you get kicked off. I'll support you, but I won't support you as a whole family. I'll only support you as a single mother. You can have as many kids as you want, because I'll just keep giving you another room, another voucher for another room.
Yes.
And so that is some trickery and some foolishness, because a lot of those women have no type of desire or anything to do better, to get off of Section 8. When it comes to Chicago, we are one of the most segregated cities in the Americas. Okay, we are. It's so interesting because we really all have our own little pockets, and we can do whatever together. Then we go home to our pockets. How do you feel? Do you feel like that's a good thing or a bad thing for Chicago? How segregated we are?
Wow, that's a good question. We are segregated.
We're very segregated. We've been segregated. We are segregated.
It's like
even when the regurgification, it still becomes a segregation, because all of them move in, all of us move out.
Yeah.
We're segregated all throughout the city of Chicago.
We are. It is segregated tremendously, because I talk to people from other states, and they'd be like, oh, my neighbor look like this, my neighbor look like that. And I'm like, really? Y'all live together? Your neighbors look like... So, right, if it's 99% us in a neighborhood, then it's not, and then if it's them, it's 99% them. in the community. So yeah, we are
And we
very
might be mixing a little bit like y'all. Chicago's mixing integration is going from 99% one culture or race in the neighborhood to being about 80%, 85%. It might
but
be a
not
little 14, 13% that moved in and mingled a little bit, but it's just a little bit. It's just like, you go to Humboldt Park, what you gonna see in Humboldt Park? You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna see us in Humboldt Park, but there are a few of us at Humboldt Park. A few.
right.
Just a few. You go to Jewtown,
It's
you go to Chinatown,
exactly.
even the big box stores in the whole Chinatown. It's nothing but Asians that work in Chinatown and
You know
that
what?
live in Chinatown.
Right.
Greektown, same thing.
So yeah, group economics. We have to do better in our communities. Even if you wanted to have a business in Chinatown, they'll laugh you out. Let you out your mind. We're not gonna give you a business license. You're not gonna get out of here. But we accept everybody in our community. Come on in, open up a business, and we give them all of our money. So yeah, we got to come
So do you
back.
feel like it works for everybody except us?
It does. It worked for everybody but us. And even when we do move in, they move out. So yeah, it may be there's certain areas that's we coming, but they going. So as soon as we
Right.
come, we go. We follow them. They leave. And at the end of the day, as bad as our communities are, as bad as our family structure is, I honestly can't say I blame them. Because as soon as we come, violence, carjackings are now in certain areas. I'm doing stories of a homicide.
Yeah, but carjackings are now in certain areas, not because we've moved in those areas. It's because y'all don't take this the wrong way, but it is what it is. It's because these little criminals have finally got smart enough to realize there's nothing to steal within their communities because everybody else is broke too. So you're not really going to get anything. So they've started to venture out to places and areas that they never would have done before. They never would have been up north carjacking. They never would have been kicking in, smashing storefronts on the Gold Coast and stuff like that before. It's like they are a whole new breed of boldness. They're emboldened. When it comes to Chicago, we are one of the most segregated cities in the Americas. Okay, we are. It's so interesting because we really all have our own little pockets and we can do whatever together. Then we go home to our pockets. How do you feel? Do you feel like that's a good thing or a bad thing for Chicago? How segregated we are?
Wow, that's a good question. We are segregated. If it's
We're very segregated. We've been segregated.
You know what? I mean, we got a long way to go. And I feel that I can make a difference. I'm gonna have to just keep it all the way 100. A lot of people don't agree with me. I would say, as far as with what needs to happen in our community, I would be more harder on our community. I ask people, man, what did y'all do in the 30s? What did y'all do in the 40s? How did y'all make it? How do y'all make it? And then on top of this, as an IT specialist, if I got a room full of computers, the same hardware, if these are all HP computers, those are HP computers, whatever they are doing is what I want to do. Because if it works in that room, I could take the software from that room and put it in this room. In fact, I would scrap all the software. Like if a computer got pop-ups, viruses and everything, my thing is to wipe it and start over from basics. And I think that's what we need. I would wipe every policy and start over one by one. And if you don't move your feet, then guess what? You starve. Human nature shows you a dog won't get up and won't leave the house and won't hunt. A cat won't either. They're natural hunters. They enjoy hunting. But if you feed them, they won't hunt. And same thing, if you go to Jamaica, they'll sell you the clothes off their back. Hey, man, you want some? Hey, can I say something? But here, we can't get off the couch. It's jobs everywhere. But we can't get nobody to fill them because they don't want to make minimum wage. I feel that the Democratic Party keeps us stagnant. So we like, okay, I'm going to sit at the crib. Oh, I could get this, I could get that. I don't blame them. I wouldn't work either. If I could make a phone call to the government and say, hey, dude, I'll pay you. I'd be like, work? For what? I would smoke, I would drink, and I would relax. I don't want to work. I don't get up every day because I want to. I have to. Human nature would tell you, you do what you have to do. So there's not 100% of every immigrant that walk over that border within 365 days is financially stable. Facts. You would never, ever see an immigrant that walked over that border begging for change in front of the liquor store, on the streets. You'll see veterans, American veterans, begging on the streets. But you'll never see an immigrant walk over that border because they used to make $15 a month. They find that you can make $15 an hour and they put their foot to the floor. They don't qualify for a lot of this stuff we're getting. So I feel it's just like as a parent, I know if I just give everything to my daughter that she's not going to have the benefit of hard work and want to work for it. So I'm doing her a disservice by just giving it to her. So when she gets old enough, I'm going to make her work for it because human nature says if I just give it to you, you're going to continue to make bad mistakes. You're not going to work for it. Facts. So I don't understand why we don't understand that in our own society. If you look back before 1965, point me to a stat, any stat. We topped the charts positive. Most marriages, businesses, everything. We were on our way. And then all of a sudden in 1965, we hit rock bottom. I mean, we just went straight down. And it's been history. We haven't been this all year, forever.
Yes. Man, when it comes to my life in the Shy, when you started this, is there something like, did you have to change yourself in order to sustain your show? Were there, even if it was like discipline, what did you have to do to start sustaining this show to be? Because when I first came on your show, the very first time, bro, I think you had like a little less than 2,000 followers.
Right.
It was like 1,700 followers, something like that, the very first time I came on your show. Now,
Right.
how many followers do you have?
On Facebook, 422,000. Right. So I got 400.
Almost a 500,000.
Yeah.
So something like, what did you have to do for yourself? Was there, some discipline or anything that you had to do in order to be consistent, or was it the consistency? How did you build like that?
It takes consistency. Consistency is key. I had to wake up every day and put my foot to the floor. And granted, I wasn't being paid anything back then. So I had to keep putting my foot to the floor as if I was. And this is something I really wanted to do and love to do. So consistency is key because I've been putting my foot to the floor for 7 years. That's something we don't understand. We want it to happen overnight, and that ain't it. That's not it. That ain't how the world works. Because I come from a college, I got a master's degree. So I worked a minimum wage job as an IT specialist for free, pretty much for minimum wage. And I worked a year intern for free. So I understand you got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues.
Yes.
So unless you paid your dues, at first, yes, I only saw 20 views for 4-5 years. So I had to pay my dues. So now, I done got it to a level to where I could get 5,000 views easily. So it just takes consistency, and you just got to keep at it and get better and change. So if you watch my videos from the first, you see how much I've evolved. So unless you're willing to evolve, evaluate yourself and make changes. And so you can say, okay, how did I mess up there? What do I need to change? And then you change it. Because then I study the best and then I study the worst. And the YouTube channels I watch, if I go back to the old videos, they've evolved tremendously. I'm like, wow, look how they changed. They changed tremendously for the better. So they did changes. They said, okay, let me make this change.
All right. So I love what you just said. And with with all of that being said, as far as your advice, there are some people out here that are starting this path and they only getting 20 views. They only getting 10 views. They happy to get 50 views.
Yes.
I know you just told them to be consistent,
Mhm.
but can you give them two characteristics that will take them to the next level? One, you already said consistency, but is there anything else that you have that you could give them a little hope?
Well, you know what? I think what they need to do is study the best and watch them every day. Study the best. Find out what they do. Meet them and beat them. Find out what they do, how they do, when they do it. Then watch the worst. Because there's a perfect example. There's a brother on YouTube right now, and I've been following him for 4 or 5 years, and he's still getting 20 and 30 views. And he hasn't changed a thing. He hasn't evolved none. And I watch his old videos; they're the same. I watch his new videos; exact. He hasn't evolved. So you gotta watch the best, find out what they do, what they're doing, when they're doing it, and meet them and beat them, and say, okay, I'm gonna add this, then I'm gonna add more. So that's the advice I would give to them if they're looking to become a successful blogger in this game.
That's great. All right, that's great. So where can the people find you?
Okay, if you go to YouTube, go to My Life in the Shy, My Life in the CHI, Instagram, all the different platforms. I'm on every platform: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and my biggest platform is Facebook, and it's just My Life in the CHI. Y'all can find me everywhere on every platform.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a good conversation, well overdue. So I'm glad we were able to get it done. And hey, you guys, thank you guys for coming out, joining the conversation. This was a different conversation, but a well needed conversation because Chicago is a hot topic, okay? Look for a lot more coming between me and this brother. We got a lot of things we're trying to line up and make happen. Again, we are here having conversations that matter. Thank you for coming out, bro. And you guys will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.